The hospital room smelled of antiseptic and broken dreams. Victoria Sterling, CEO of Sterling Enterprises, stared at the wilted orchid on her nightstand, the last gift her daughter Emma had given her before the accident 3 months ago. Those delicate purple petals had been vibrant with life. Now they were brown and brittle, much like the hope that had slowly drained from Victoria's heart. "Mom, I'm sorry to bother you." Victoria looked up to see Miguel Santos, the night janitor, standing hesitantly in her doorway. His weathered hands gripped his cart, and his kind eyes held an apology she didn't understand. "What is it, Miguel?" Victoria's voice came out harsher than intended. She'd been in this private room for 2 weeks now, recovering from the same crash that had taken Emma's life, and she'd grown tired of the parade of visitors offering empty condolences. Miguel stepped forward, his gaze settling on the dead orchid. "I noticed this flower. It meant something to you, didn't it?" Victoria's throat tightened. "My daughter gave it to me." She said orchids were survivors, that they could bloom again even when everything seemed hopeless. She laughed bitterly. Turns out she was wrong about the two. For a moment, silence stretched between them. Miguel had been cleaning these halls for 15 years, invisible to most patients and staff. But he'd noticed things the way Victoria had whispered to that flower in her darker moments. How she'd refused to let the nurses throw it away even as it withered beyond recognition. What if it could bloom again? Miguel asked quietly. Victoria's eyes flashed with something between anger and anguish. Don't give me false hope. I've had enough of that." But Miguel didn't back down. Instead, he surprised her with words that would echo in her mind for years to come. "If you can resurrect it, I'll let you steal me away." The challenge hung in the air like a dare from the universe itself. Victoria stared at this man she barely knew, this janitor who cleaned her floors and emptied her trash, and saw something she hadn't expected: unwavering belief. "You don't understand," she whispered. "I've killed everything I've touched. My company is falling apart without me. I couldn't save my daughter. I can't even save a stupid flower." Miguel's expression softened. "Mrs. Sterling, may I tell you about my grandmother?" Without waiting for permission, he continued. "She had a garden in Guadalajara, the most beautiful flowers you've ever seen. When I was 7, I accidentally broke her favorite rose bush trying to pick a flower for her birthday. I was sure I'd killed it." He moved closer to the orchid, his rough fingers hovering over the brittle stems. "She didn't get angry. Instead, she showed me something. She cut away all the dead parts, replanted it in fresh soil, and put it in a spot where it could get just the right amount of light." "My Joe," she said, "sometimes things need to die completely before they can be reborn." "And did it grow back?" Victoria found herself asking despite her skepticism. "More beautiful than before. That rose bush lived for 30 more years." Miguel's eyes met hers. "But here's the thing, she didn't just save the plant. She taught me that sometimes the most broken things have the most potential for growth." Victoria felt something crack in her chest, not breaking, but opening. "Why would you care about helping me? You don't even know me." Miguel smiled, and for the first time in months, Victoria saw genuine warmth directed at her. "Because 3 weeks ago, when I was cleaning your office building, I heard you on the phone with someone about my son's medical bills. You didn't know I was there. You paid for his surgery completely anonymously. Carlos is walking again because of you." The words hit Victoria like a physical blow. She'd forgotten about that call, forgotten about the stack of employee medical bills she'd reviewed that night, forgotten about the young man whose spinal injury had bankrupted his family. It had seemed like such a small thing at the time, mere just numbers on a spreadsheet. "You You're Carlos's father, and you saved his life without thinking twice about it. So yes, Mrs. Sterling, I believe if anyone can bring something back from the dead, it's you." Tears she'd been holding back for months finally spilled over. "I don't know how." "Then let me help you." What followed was the most unlikely partnership in Sterling Memorial Hospital's history. Miguel brought soil from his own garden, researched orchid care on the library computer during his breaks, and stopped by Victoria's room each night after his shift. Victoria, meanwhile, found herself looking forward to these visits, and not just for the flower project, but for Miguel's stories about his family, his quiet wisdom, and his unshakable faith in second chances. The orchid looked worse before it looked better. They had to cut away nearly everything, leaving what appeared to be just a sad collection of roots and one stubborn green shoot. Victoria wanted to give up a dozen times. "It's hopeless," she said one particularly dark evening. "Maybe some things are just meant to stay dead." Miguel sat down in the visitor's chair, as something he'd never done before. "My wife died 5 years ago. Cancer. For the longest time, I thought that was it for me, that the best part of my life was over. But then I realized something. She didn't just leave me grief. She left me Carlos, and memories, and the ability to love others the way she taught me to love." He gestured to the pitiful orchid. "This plant isn't just your daughter's gift, is it? It's your chance to prove that love doesn't die you, it just changes form." 6 weeks later, Victoria was preparing to be discharged when she noticed something that made her heart stop. A tiny purple bud had emerged from what they thought was a dead stem. "Miguel!" she called out, her voice cracking with emotion. He came running, and when he saw the bud, his face broke into the biggest smile Victoria had ever seen. "Look at that," he whispered. "She's coming back to life." Victoria couldn't speak for several minutes. When she finally found her voice, it was to say something that surprised them both. "You know what this means, don't you?" Miguel looked confused. "What?" "I made you a promise. If I could resurrect it, you'd let me steal you away." Victoria's eyes were bright with unshed tears and newfound purpose. "Miguel Santos, how would you like to be my new chief operations officer?" Miguel's jaw dropped. "Mom, I don't understand." "You've taught me more about leadership, compassion, and resilience in 2 months than I learned in 20 years of business school. My company is struggling because I forgot what you never lost to that success isn't measured in profit margins. It's measured in the lives we touch." The janitor, who had spent 15 years invisible to the corporate world, suddenly found himself being offered a chance to transform it. But more than that, he'd helped a broken woman rediscover that some things are love, hope, human connection are truly our resurrection proof. A year later, Sterling Enterprises was not just profitable again, but had become known for its unprecedented employee care programs and community initiatives. Victoria kept the orchid on her office desk, where it bloomed regularly, reminding her daily that the most beautiful growth often comes from the deepest wounds. And Miguel, he never did let her steal him away completely. Instead, they became partners in the truest sense, two people who understood that sometimes the most profound transformations begin with the simplest acts of faith. Every evening, after the boardroom meetings and budget reviews, he still made his rounds through the building, not as a janitor anymore, but as a man who knew that dignity, like orchids, could bloom again when tended with the right kind of love. The flower had been just the beginning. The real resurrection was in the hearts of two people who discovered that healing others is often the path to healing ourselves.